Well, you're probably coming into this video thinking, now Parker, what exactly is a Nintendo Direct? And that would be reasonable considering the last one we had that most would consider a general Direct happened over a year ago. A general Direct, of course, being any Direct that outranks a Captain Toad. The last Direct that wasn't a mini or a game-specific Direct or an indie Direct or a partner showcase was last September. So luckily, nobody's been asking for one since then. So I guess Nintendo can just pack it up and go home. Great. But in all seriousness, it seems like a general Direct is right around the corner, and since I only put up one video a week and it's on Thursdays, I'll probably miss it if it's next week. So instead of using my one video a week to map some star chart to figure out if one's happening at all, I'm just gonna make my predictions and hope for the best. But it does bear mentioning that these are really just predictions of things I think are in the pipeline. So whether there's a Direct next week, which I suspect there is, or not, this will just be a fun time for you and I to delve into the mind of Nintendo and, you know, see how we are coming out the other side. Let's talk about it. So although I'm not going to spend any time on why I think a Direct is coming, I do want to mention the precarious position that Nintendo is in. We're creeping closer to 2021, but we're right up on the holiday season of 2020. And so far, all we've got announced is Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So if you're Nintendo, are you Nintendo? Do you go ahead and announce 2021 games to get their marketing cycles going and get people hype and all that? Or do you only announce what's in 2020 out of fear that the 2021 announcements might overshadow what you're trying to sell right in the here and now? That's an interesting question, and I don't know for sure what they're going to do, but I've got a suspicion they'll probably go ahead with the 2021 games, especially since what they've already announced for 2020 may get pushed into there anyway. Not Pikmin, other things. Also, it's a lot more fun for us if we assume 2021's in there, so we don't have to limit down to 2020. So go big or go home, as they say. And with that, let's get going. Most of the videos we do on this channel are more video essay scripted type stuff. So if you're into that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But for today, we're doing something a little bit different. I've got my handy dandy notebook. This guy comes out every once in a while, and we're just going to go through the things that I think are going to be coming in this Direct or not coming. You'll see what I mean. I've got a couple different categories. So we're going to start with the more known quantities and eventually get to the more speculative realm. And the first of these categories is what I think we will not be seeing in the Direct. Starting strong, I don't think we're going to see Metroid Prime 4 or Metroid Prime Trilogy here. I do think the Trilogy is going to be used as a marketing tool for Prime 4, so I think until they feel comfortable showing us anything for Prime 4, I don't think we're seeing that trilogy at all. This is what they did with Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 back in the day, and I think they realized that this wasn't the best idea as the hype from Bayonetta 1 and 2 has completely fallen off by now. So that said, Metroid Prime 4, probably a long way off. Metroid Prime Trilogy is just gonna wait in the wings until then. I also don't think we'll see Bakugan. We saw it once, that's enough. Surprisingly though, Pikmin 3 Deluxe. We just got the announcement for this a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and it'll be coming out in October. And truth be told, I don't know how many new features they would show in this Direct to warrant it having an announcement trailer, an update trailer in the Direct here, and then, you know, more trailers right close to launch there. But I like to assume they're saving some of that information for later down the road, so they're not going to get into it here. And I should have mentioned this at the top, but I think this is going to be a pretty long Direct. We've seen them be as long as 40 to 45 minutes before, so if this is really taking a lot of what would have been at E3 and what would be at the September Direct now, especially considering they have contractual obligations with a lot of third parties, like they obviously did with Bakugan and Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Rogue Company. So similarly, I think there's a lot of games waiting for this Direct. I also don't think we'll see new Pokemon Snap. Similar to Pikmin 3, I don't know when this one's coming out, but I don't know that there's going to be enough new that they would want to show without doing the big blowout a little bit closer to launch. So I think this game's 2021, unfortunately, so we're not going to see it. And there's two more that are probably my most anticipated games, but I'm just going to say we're not going to see for my own well-being. And those are Hollow Knight Silksong and Breath of the Wild 2. Hollow Knight is just a mystery because it's an indie team, so it could be that they've been doing great under quarantine, but also maybe it's getting pushed out a lot. And I know Breath of the Wild 2 recently had a collector's edition leak, but it said Breath of the Wild 2 on it, and I don't think that's the name of the game, so I don't think that's a real leak. Just saying. But enough of the things we're not going to see. What are we going to see? Some easy ones. No More Heroes 3. I think it's coming out early 2021. It got pushed back. That's one of the ones I was saying that Nintendo announced, but is getting pushed out of 2020 into 2021. But I think we will also get No More Heroes 1 and 2 HD coming out in October, something around then, so that you can build up the hype for 3 so people can get caught up. Bravely Default 2 is a Square Enix RPG, and since Nintendo's publishing here in the West, I think they're gonna go for a December time because I think that's just a good RPG time for Nintendo. They had the demo towards the beginning of the year, and I think they'll give updates on what they've changed about it and give a date. Another one we haven't heard from in a while, Bayonetta 3. It's been a long time since we've actually heard about this one, but it just feels like the right time now that the Wonderful 101 is gone and Astral Chain is gone. I do think this game could still be a little ways out. It could be in 2021, but they just want to show it, just want to go ahead and say, here it is, this is what the game actually looks like beyond just a little CGI trailer. And the last confirmed things are Pokemon Unite and Pokemon DLC for Sword and Shield. I think a shadow drop for Pokemon Unite and sometime in November for the Pokemon DLC. And now we're getting into rumor territory. So these are all things you've heard about before, but we got to talk about them. Really, the deciding factor for that earlier conversation on 2020 versus 2021 games being shown in this direct is the Mario stuff. There is so much Mario merchandise going up around these days. So like, it's definitely a thing. The question is, when does it come out and how much does Nintendo have to focus on it for it to be a big thing without taking away from something else or something else taking away from it? But I think they can rely on one fact, and that's that it's Mario. They don't have to be that worried about it being overshadowed by other things. Even if they put it somewhere in the middle and something else is the big story, they're gonna keep making it the big story for the next month or so. I think the 3D collection was originally gonna come out in September, so that's Super Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, probably in some package together, probably only a little bit upscaled and looking better, but they might have gotten pushed back to sometime in October. And then 3D World Deluxe, that's definitely coming, but I don't know, maybe November. Continuing on with the rumored stuff, Prince of Persia. I don't know a lot about this series, but apparently there's some games in it and they're remastering some of them or something, so probably that's coming. And another shadow drop, Apex Legends. Earlier in the year, we found out that EA is bringing over 7 games this year, which, you know, probably some of those got pushed out at this point, but there were supposed to be 7 games, and one of them was Apex Legends. I feel like a shadow drop here similar to Fortnite at E3 2018. And the last rumor bit is Skyward Sword HD. As the Wii U well is drying up, I think they might continue to reach back into their catalog with Skyward Sword and other Wii games, some GameCube games, all that kind of thing, to make those big deals while they work on their other big tentpole releases. I think this game's probably early 2021. I don't think it's coming out this holiday season, but I think we'll see it, and I'm excited to play it. So those are all the known quantities, but what about the new stuff? I think this is what makes or breaks a Nintendo Direct, so they gotta make it good. And although it feels like we know a lot of things that Nintendo's got cooking, I think there are a lot of things that are still behind closed doors that we don't know about yet. So first of all, you saw the thumbnail, hear me out, a brand new 3D Kirby game. With the Switch, I think, or I hope, Nintendo's realizing something really important, which is that there's a whole fan base of people that want to try a lot of their franchises, but they don't really want rehashed ideas. They want to try something fresh and new. Kirby Star Allies came out in 2018, and it maybe wasn't the best Kirby game, but it probably was the one that had the most content by the end of it. And the Kirby team and HAL Laboratories seemed to suggest the same kind of thing, that this was a closing of a chapter and this was an end cap to what Kirby had been. But early last year, we saw some job listings for HAL Laboratory for Kirby specifically for a bunch of positions, some of which included like 3D animators and stuff. I'm not a game designer, but I don't know what new Kirby can really do in the 2D sphere for a little while. I think it needs to take a break from that because that's where it's been living for a long time now. And I don't know exactly what this new game will look like. I think AJ actually has more ideas than I do, but I'm mentioning it in this video, so here we are. But I think in this Direct, we're gonna see a new 3D Kirby game that's gonna get you and me interested, even if we haven't been in the past. Next up, I think a shadow drop game, just a small one from Nintendo, like the Stretchers, like Box Boy and Box Girl, like Good Job. Pretty much one of Nintendo's sort of indie games that they publish themselves. Maybe a new Chibi Robo game or something in the Dylan franchise. Or they capitalize on a segment of the Animal Crossing fandom and get a new Style Savvy game. Or, and I hope that it's this, they get SFB Games, who designed Snipper Clips, to do a new WarioWare game. That would be cool. It's about time for one. Following that, I think a new Smash fighter. Probably won't shadow drop that day, but I'm guessing it'll come out within the next week so that Sakurai can do his whole presentation and stuff. I asked AJ who he thought it would be, and he said just not Paper Mario, but maybe that Gen 8 Pokemon or some kind of Zelda character would be likely. There's also a bunch of third-party characters that could be possible, maybe even Monster Hunter, because I do think that we could be seeing Monster Hunter Stories 2, and probably a port of Monster Hunter Stories 1. Because it was on the 3DS, I think Monster Hunter Stories 1 was more chibi than what a lot of the Monster Hunter fandom would really be into, but now they have newer hardware to work with. I think Monster Hunter Stories 2 on the Switch could be, I don't know, a lot better, more appealing to me, maybe. And this one kind of is a rumor, but a 2D Metroid from Mercury Steam. It's been 3 years since Samus Returns, and I think that would give them enough time to work on a brand new 2D Metroid. And I think it would not be a remake of an older 2D Metroid, but really be Metroid 5. And I've got two more potential one more things from Nintendo, but let's finish up some of these other ones first. A port of Devil May Cry 4. We got 1, 2, and 3 so far, so I don't know, it's about time. And then the Arkham Collection. We should be hearing about Batman Court of Owls on the 22nd of August, so that should be a good cadence of announcing that and then having this in the direct now. And a bunch of people suggested that there was going to be something from Microsoft in this past indie world, and I don't think it was going to be Rare Replay, because that's not an indie, but I think that could show up here. So Rare Replay, let's do it. Even though Microsoft has their new consoles launching this holiday, I think this could be good publicity for them in this sphere as well. Also, Microsoft, if you're bringing over games, go ahead and bring over Ori and Master Chief. I see you there. And speaking of shooting games, I think a port of some Call of Duty. Maybe Warzone, but that would be a little conflicting with Apex Legends, but some Call of Duty I think could very well come over, even if it's an older one. And then there's gonna be a sizzle reel, but I haven't really thought about all the things that are gonna be in there because some of them are sort of boring sometimes, but probably some of the other EA games that weren't the ones listed before. So Need for Speed Hot Pursuit and Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. But like I said, there's two last first-party big ones that I think could be here. Number one, a 3D Donkey Kong. I talked about this way earlier in the year, but I think Retro could have been hiring at some point for a new Donkey Kong, and specifically a 3D one. 3D platformers overall have just been making a big comeback over the past couple of years, and Donkey Kong needs a new game. Donkey Kong 64 is of course quite divisive, but that's not to say a new game couldn't be fantastic. I'm not gonna guess what the intricate mechanics would be, but I know I'd be very excited for a new 3D Donkey Kong if it looked good. And then the last option, Eternal Darkness. Nintendo has seen that mature games are doing pretty well on the Switch. So unlike some other games of theirs like 1080 and Wave Race that have died out because extreme games are just not as important anymore, but I'd love to see a new 1080. Eternal Darkness is a genre that's very much still well and alive. So new Eternal Darkness coming to the Switch. But that's what I think. What do you think? What games do you think we could be seeing in a Nintendo Direct? And do you think we'll have one soon at all? Let me know all that and more in the comment section below, and we'll take some of those comments and talk about them on our podcast this weekend. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to fanatixfour for more content like this every Tuesday and Thursday from me and from AJ at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's about it from us. See you around.